The following is a paid program sponsored by the friends and partners of Faith Life Now. Today on Drenda.
We're reacting to our fears in a way that just make our fears come true. An example of that is cohabitation. See, it works God's way. And what we tell people is you have a 100% chance of success in marriage if you do it God's way. Because God never creates anything to fail.
Refreshing stories bringing hope. Real people, real life, bringing you more of what matters. Drenda.
Welcome to Drenda. Sex, love, and intimacy. That is today's topic on Drenda. I did say sex, love, and intimacy. Ladies, whatever you're doing, stop it now. Guys, sit down on the couch. You don't want to miss today because we're going to be talking about making your love life better. And we have marriage expert Jimmy Evans with us today.
Yes. We have some stats we want to take a look at right now, but don't go away because we are going to hear from America's leading expert on marriage and family just after this. We're here today with Jimmy Evans. He's one of America's leading experts on family and marriage. Him and his wife Karen host a show, Marriage Today, and he's also a prolific writer. My husband and I actually watched his DVDs to prepare before we got married, and amazing teaching, so we're so excited to have him with us today.
Yes, welcome to the program, Jimmy. Good to have you. Bless you.
Pastor Gary, thanks.
And also joining us today is my husband, Gary. Yes. I know you're a marriage expert. Gary is somewhat of a marriage expert as well. Yes. And he's definitely a financial expert.
Yeah, 30 years.
Anyway, so I'm glad to have you both to the program.
Well, I watch both your programs, and they're phenomenal.
Well, thank you. We watch yours as well, and we thoroughly enjoy it. And we use your teaching, Marriage on the Rock, through our church and ministry. And
wonderful.
You've helped ground a lot of young couples and folks entering into marriage, which is the place to do this, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Well, we didn't know any better.
We didn't either, but we've learned, right? We've all learned.
Yeah, do it before, and just like finances, learn it as early as you can.
Yes.
And it helps so much.
I'm so blessed that we were able to do that and to go through those DVDs and just learn.
So did it get your husband kind of pre-trained for you?
Exactly. You know what? We've been married 3 years, and obviously my parents have been married 30 years, so we have a good example here as well. But yes, it was amazing. And we have one of your books here, Lifelong Love Affair.
So you talk about in the book about the covenant, about a marriage covenant. Tell me a little bit about that covenant of love.
Well, every relationship that God creates is a covenant. And what we've done in America is turned marriage into a contract. And so there's a huge difference. A covenant is a permanent relationship. Okay, it's a permanent sacrificial relationship. In Hebrews 13:5, here's what God says to us, day one of the relationship. I will never leave you nor forsake you. And leave means physically desert, but forsake means turn your heart away. And God says, I will never do that. And Jesus said, this is the new covenant in my blood. It's a sacrificial, permanent relationship. Well, God created marriage in the Garden of Eden. And remember, He cut Adam. There was blood. Just like in the new covenant with Jesus, there was blood when God created marriage. And He created it as a permanent, sacrificial relationship. And in a covenant, you assume responsibilities and you surrender rights.
That's good.
The greatest marriage is two servants in love that are committed to God and each other. Okay, what we've done in America is turn marriage into a contract. It's the exact opposite. A contract protects my rights and limits my responsibilities. And so what we've said in America is I don't want to sacrifice. In fact, I've got one foot out the back door. If you don't tote the note, I'm going to get on the internet and find somebody that matches in all my categories. And that's what happens is we're very non-committed and we're very selfish. And marriage doesn't work that way. God created it to work in the environment of a sacrificial, permanent kind of it's a covenant. That's what it is.
It is.
That's so good.
It is.
Good.
Now, how does that attitude toward covenant affect the sexual relationship and intimacy in a marriage?
Well, some of the statistics you were showing, the most sexually satisfied women, according to secular surveys, are deeply religious women who are married and their faith is important to them. So in the context of faith, in our relationship with Jesus, we're committed to Jesus and He's committed to us in a covenant relationship. And in the context of that covenant, we have the best sex. In other words, we trust each other because God is in the middle of our marriage. And this is more than just a physical act. It's more than just me getting my needs met physically. There's a spiritual component here, and we're committed to God and we're committed to each other. And especially women, and I know there's a lot of women that watch this program, women want security in the relationship with her husband.
Yes, yes, they do.
And-
Number one, don't they?
Yeah, and character is what turns women on. See, a lot of men think that they want to go out and lift weights and buff up and get a tan, wear a gold chain.
All right, guys, I hope you're listening to this now.
That's right.
Character, okay, character.
Well, strut through the house, and the wife gets turned on by looking at him. And, that may or may not happen, guys. I'm just telling you right now. But do the dishes, take care of the kids, work hard, be a good money manager, be a godly man, and she'll turn on. Again, women, covenant just simply means at the core of the relationship is character. At the core of the relationship is commitment. Now this, again, in our world today, it's almost the opposite.
Right.
The more inwardly depraved a society becomes, the more outwardly focused they become. Okay, so the less we have going on the inside, the more we have to have trinkets and looks and everything on the outside. Okay,
That's good.
so as our society becomes inwardly depraved, we focus more on the externals.
Right.
What do you look like, and how much money do you have, and things like that. When a woman is getting married, and you're talking to Amy about getting married, the reason for dating is not to see how good somebody is in bed. The reason for dating is to see what a person's character is.
Exactly.
And the reason you want to date someone for 6 months to a year or 2 or 3 years is you want to see how do they treat their mother, how do they treat their father, what kind of friends do they have, do they pay their bills, do they respect other people, all of those things are in God. What is their relationship with God? Again, because so many people get married and they just don't have really any foundation except that there's maybe a chemistry or a sexual attraction, okay?
Exactly.
And you want that to remain through the relationship, but character is the foundation by which you're going to have the best sex.
Yep.
Your covenant creates a relationship that is secure.
Yes.
And in that environment, everything works.
Beautiful.
Right.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I was going to say, Drenda, we don't see that on TV.
No.
What you just said, that's not what we see out there in the
No.
media about marriage.
No, I just recently, sometimes I'll sample a lot of the movies that are being projected to the culture and to women particularly, because I'm trying to combat the lies of the enemy toward women that are targeted at women. And one of the movies, though, recently I saw was interesting. Even though she put down marriage throughout the movie, in the end, she basically said, my husband is, where I want to go. That's where I want to be, you know. And I was surprised because that's not the message we've seen in Hollywood. It was more of, be with as many people as you can. But she said, I find comfort in being with my husband, whatever his name was, Bob or whatever.
And look at their relationships. And we love the, Hollywood people. We really honestly pray for them. Karen and I have a heart for that. But it's a false message. You see Hollywood couples getting married madly in love. If chemistry, could make a marriage work, those people would explode when they kiss. They're so pretty. You know what I mean?
They're hot. They're beautiful.
They got the chemistry.
Yeah, they've got all the chemistry, but they don't have the long life marriage.
They're just madly in love, and they're just goo-goo, and then they get married, and they have these horrible divorces. It does not work. It's a false message, and there are consequences. One of the worst things that are being shown to young people and to people right now, they'll show this bed hopping. Of going from bed to bed and having all these relationships, but they don't show the diseases.
No,
they don't show the abortions. That's right.
No, they don't show all the consequences.
Yeah, it's devastating. But I'll tell you this: there is no ill consequence of a committed marriage. It is monogamous heterosexual marriage. There's no disease. There's no heartbreak. God made it beautiful. God created sex, and I love the fact that y'all are having this program. And I'm saying y'all a lot because I'm from Texas. I'm sorry.
That's great.
I'm here in Ohio. But
so is my husband.
I'm from Georgia.
Okay, good. Well, but the point is that all of these things that we're talking about, and you're talking about sex, this is our subject. God created it in the Garden of Eden.
Yes, it's holy.
And He said, and the beautiful thing about the Bible in Genesis 2:25, it says they were both naked and unashamed. Not only did God create sex, but He created it without any shame whatsoever. But as soon as they sinned, then they felt shame.
Yes.
The devil put shame on it. God takes the shame away.
That's right.
Yes,
Hold that thought.
good.
Coming right back, more on sex with Jimmy Evans.
We've put together an offer that's sure to rekindle the spark in your marriage by marriage authority Jimmy Evans and Gary and Drenda Keesee. Lifelong Love Affair is a well-crafted hardback book that demonstrates how to have a passionate and deeply rewarding marriage. In Lifelong Love Affair, you'll discover why every marriage has a 100% chance of success. Jimmy shows you and your spouse how to embrace God's dream for your marriage and to cultivate the romance and fun that might be missing. Also included in today's offer is a powerful DVD series by husband and wife team Gary and Drenda Keessee. Marriage Makeover includes hours of insightful teaching, personal stories, and real answers. This Marriage Makeover seminar has blessed countless couples and will serve as your personal marriage coach.
Yeah, there are two things that really changed our marriage. And the first one that really impacted us was when we went to Pastor Gary and Drenda's The Marriage Makeover Conference.
This is a 5 DVD seminar that will help you rediscover the things that matter to you and your spouse. And when you call today, we'll also include a bonus DVD. Call right or go online now and request the Lifelong Love Affair book and Marriage Makeover series. Your marriage is worth it.
If you'd like Drenda to speak at your next conference or event, just call, write, or go to Drenda.com and leave your information.
Sex, love, and intimacy. We're talking to Jimmy Evans. And Jimmy, I cannot wait to get into your book. I started it, and I'm like, And so we want to read some more here.
Steal it after you're done.
Okay, a lifelong love affair. And that's what we really want, ladies, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, we all want a lasting love relationship, to know that we're the only one, we're the queen bee, we're the one they're committed to for life. Right, honey?
That's exactly
Now, how have
right.
you guys done it for 30 years? That's what a lot of people my age would want to know.
Well, one of the things we didn't know what's in that book when we started, so we had to
we've learned.
figure it out. But
well,
it is,
you know, really, I set you up. When we were earlier on in our ministry,
That's
I
true.
said, we're going to
Wise
do a
woman.
marriage conference. And I said, I feel like God told me to do this. And Gary said, we don't know anything about marriage. I said, that's why we're doing one. And honestly,
And that's what this has become, Marriage Makeover. You guys have done these quite a few times now.
We
and
have.
it's an incredible resource.
we've had a lot of
Marriages,
marriages healed through this. And
Yeah.
I know our marriage gets stronger every
marriage
time.
is an amazing thing. I mean,
It is amazing.
everything flows out of your marriage.
It does.
Guys want to prosper. Prosperity flows out of your marriage. Everything good flows out of your marriage.
It does. Now,
So-
Jimmy, a lot of couples, especially younger couples, are saying nowadays, let's cohabit. Let's, let's try it before we buy it. What do you think of that?
Well, if 50% of planes were falling out of the air, you would have a fear of flying.
Oh, definitely. I just
And-
got off a plane this morning. I would
Yeah.
definitely not be flying.
And a lot of people in our society, they're fearful of marriage. The unfortunate thing is we're reacting to our fears in a way that just make our fears come true. An example of that is cohabitation. See, it works God's way. And what we tell people is you have a 100% chance of success in marriage if you do it God's way. Because God never creates anything to fail.
That's right.
The failure is not because marriage doesn't work. It's just simply because we've thrown away God's word and we're doing it our own way. An example of that is cohabitation. Now, the interesting thing is, and I know a lot of women watch your program, and women and men live together for different reasons. Okay, so when you talk about cohabitation, you have to understand there's two angles at it. Some of it's fear-based, and we're saying, I want to kick the tires before I buy the car. Okay, I kind of want to find out what's going on. Women live together with a man to take the relationship to another level. Okay, they're thinking, okay,
It's a
we're
step
dating.
toward marriage.
That's right. I got him. Okay,
Yeah.
he's living with me.
Right.
Okay, and so you know we're living.
It's just
together.
a matter of time before we get married.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah.
Men live together with women because they get the benefits of marriage without commitment.
Absolutely.
Okay, and so you
I
have,
say that in my book too. Yes.
absolutely, and so you have to realize, and so women, in my opinion, women are being defrauded.
Amen.
Now, and so, and she said, but he told me he loves me.
He loves me.
Okay, if he loves you,
And how many other girls?
well, if he loves you, here's how you know a man loves you. He's gonna get you a big gaudy ring. He's gonna stand in front of your family and his and God, and a preacher, and he's gonna marry you.
Exactly.
Yes.
And
Commit.
as soon as he puts that ring on your finger in a public place and commits, you believe him. Before then, you don't believe him.
That's right.
Say, thank you, other people have told me they love me. Put a ring right here, you know.
And then you can, yeah, that's right.
You make me a bride and I'll make you a baby in that order, you know.
That's great. That's
Good.
excellent.
We have some questions from the audience, so I'm going to step down here and ask you
Okay,
those.
while you're going there, Amy, I just want to ask you, what is every man's dream woman, and what is every woman's dream man?
Okay. Well, we have different needs, and we know that, but sometimes we don't know how to articulate it. So let me talk about women first. Okay, that every woman's dream husband. Women's top 4 needs are: number 1, security. Women want, and that means nothing makes a woman feel more secure than a selfless, sacrificial man that is in tune with her. And by the way, romance, the reason that romance is important to women is it says you're on my heart and I'm thinking about you and I don't have to. When a man is no longer romantic, she loses her sense of security because lack of romance means you're not on my heart and I'm not thinking about you.
Interesting. So that's when the wife keeps saying, do you love me? I
That's
don't
right.
really believe you love me. And he's like, well, I go to work, don't I? And I'm here every day, and I bought you flowers.
When you do something nice when you're not in trouble, that's romance. Okay? And so, and what it says is, I'm not in trouble, but I'm thinking about you at work. I'm thinking about you, and that's why I'm doing these things. And so, security. Number 2 is open and honest communication. Women want headlines. They don't want just to talk. They want you to open up, and that's the way they connect to your life. And communication to a woman is important as sex is to a man. Okay, yes. Open and honest. Okay, they want you to talk about your feelings, and when you're talking, they want to know how you feel about things, and that's the secret. Okay, non-sexual touching and affection is one of a woman's most important needs. And so men need to be tender with their wives and be affectionate in non-sexual ways because it makes her feel valuable and that you love her for more than just sex. Okay? And number 4 is leadership. Okay? They don't want to be dominated. They want to be an equal, but they want their husband to be the initiator of romance, of spirituality, of finances and children. And they want you to initiate the conversation about where are we going to put the kids in school? Where are we going to go to church? You know, so on and so forth. And so when a husband is making his wife feel secure, talking with her, being affectionate with her, and being a leader, she's in heaven. That's her dream husband.
Yeah, can I get an amen, ladies? Okay, Amy's out in the audience. We're going to get a couple questions.
All right, here's our first question.
Why do men mistake sex for intimacy?
Why do men mistake sex for intimacy? You have to understand that to a man, sex is intimacy. Okay, now it's not to a woman. Okay, because there are different levels of intimacy. There's spiritual, there's emotional, there's mental, and there's physical. Okay, so a guy's going to go right for the physical. Okay, to him, that's because it is a sense of connection with him. But what men need to understand is the greatest sex is going to happen when you've prayed together, when you've worshiped together, when you've talked and come into an agreement, and when you're meeting each other's emotional needs. And so men can become very one-dimensional, and that's the problem with men sexually, is they can be very one-dimensional. Men need to understand when you begin early in the morning building a foundation with your wife, literally what I tell men is when you pastor your wife all day long, it's going to be real good and bad. Because you've met her needs, you've prayed with her, you care about the kids, you care about the broken washer, you care about her mother's broken finger, you care about all that. And to a woman, that's all a part of her sex life. Intimacy to her simply means you're a part of my life on every level.
That's great.
And so when you bypass that and want to jump in bed and have great sex, it doesn't happen. That's what men need to understand.
It backfires.
Yeah.
One more question, Amy.
All right here.
What made you fall in love with your wife?
What made me fall in love with my wife? Well, I was 16 years old, and we were in biology class together in high school, and she was dating some jerk senior, and I hated him. And I thought she was the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. And I still do. We've been married 40 years. She's still the most beautiful woman.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I read in your book about sexy. What is sexy? We're going to talk about what is sexy when we come back from this break.
If you're new to Drenda.com, be sure to check out all the resources available or follow on Facebook and Twitter. Let us hear from you today. Go to Drenda.com.
We've put together an offer that's sure to rekindle the spark in your marriage by marriage authority Jimmy Evans and Gary and Drenda Keesee. Lifelong Love Affair is a well-crafted hardback book that demonstrates how to have a passionate and deeply rewarding marriage. In Lifelong Love Affair, you'll discover why every marriage has a 100% chance of success. Jimmy shows you and your spouse how to embrace God's dream for your marriage and to cultivate the romance and fun that might be missing. Also included in today's offer is a powerful DVD series by husband and wife team Gary and Drenda Keesee. Marriage Makeover includes hours of insightful teaching, personal stories, and real answers. This Marriage Makeover seminar has blessed countless couples and will serve as your personal marriage coach.
Yeah, there are two things that really changed our marriage. And the first one that really impacted us was when we went to Pastor Gary and Drenda's The Marriage Makeover Conference.
This is a 5-DVD seminar that will help you rediscover the things that matter to you and your spouse. And when you call today, we'll also include a bonus DVD. Call right or go online now and request the Lifelong Love Affair book and Marriage Makeover series. Your marriage is worth it.
Sometimes life isn't easy and becomes difficult to walk alone. Drenda understands and wants to help. That's why she has caring partners standing by, ready to pray with you. No matter what you're facing, there is hope.
You need to get Jimmy's book, Lifelong Love Affair and Our Marriage Makeover. It's a small investment to change your marriage. You're married, you might as well be happily married.
That's
you might as
right.
well have fire and passion in your marriage. Speaking of that, Jimmy, in your book you say, what is sexy? Tell me, what is sexy?
Well, you know, there are people that think that sexy means, you know, Victoria's Secret, lingerie and all that. And there was a time I believed that, but we've been married 40 years. My wife is sexy. And one of the things I say is, I will not compare my wife's body to any woman who has not paid the price to bear my children. The older she gets, the more beautiful she is to me. The more she has committed herself to me and given herself to be a mother and a grandmother, the more beautiful she is to me. My wife of 40 years is the most sexy woman on earth.
Beautiful, beautiful. Wow, we're all going to cry, ladies, so we can cry together.
You can write greeting cards.
And you can sell them for me. You're the financial guy.
Okay, you too. There's a business idea right there.
Well, it's sad when you hear people who have been married so long and they're miserable and they hate each other. They don't even sleep in the same bedroom anymore.
Right.
Yes.
And you know, as a young person, you think, oh gosh, I hope that doesn't happen in my marriage.
Right.
You know.
With how old do you have to be before you can quit?
A question.
Question.
Well, you want to quit at the same time. That's the big thing in marriage is your spouse. You know, 30% of women are more sexual than their husbands. Okay, and so I'm going to assume that's from a lady, but maybe not. Okay, because sometimes it would be a man. Is you have to remember that you're not having sex because you have that need. You're having sex because your spouse does. Typically, we don't have the same need at the same time, and we don't have the same sexual need at the same time. Matching libidos, if you only have sex when you have matching libidos, you're not having much sex. Because typically, good marriage or good sex in marriage is a servant spirit. The secret to ultimate sexual fulfillment is a servant spirit.
Right.
And that is, I'm not happy till you're happy.
That's great.
Giving, not
That's
taking.
beautiful.
That's a
That's
good
beautiful.
statement.
You know, this is why we do this program. It's why I'm passionate about bringing answers to you. What matters most in your life? This is very important. We see marriages falling apart. We see brokenness. And you know, women are hurting in relational areas. That is the biggest hurt I see for women. It's always about a relationship. It's about a breakup. It's painful. Things that are, misunderstandings between husbands and wives. It's why I do this program. I want you to get the answers. I want you to understand what God says about it. In the Bible it says in 1 Corinthians 7:3, the husband should fulfill his marital duty to his wife. And I don't see this as a duty. I see this as what you were saying, Jimmy, as a way to serve. So you could say the husband should fulfill his service to his wife, and likewise the wife to her husband. The wife's body does not belong to her alone, but also to her husband. In the same way, the husband's body does not belong to him alone, but also to his wife. Do not deprive each other except by mutual consent for a time. This is the oil of marriage. Sex is the oil of your relationship. And if you don't want to have sex with each other, there's something wrong that's deeper. But I can tell you this, starting to have sex and serve each other in the bedroom will begin to break down the walls in other areas. I know I made a commitment many years ago. I told my husband, whenever you want to have sex, you come to me. You just tell me. I bet you do.
I remember that day.
I said, I don't want you thinking about another woman or fantasizing about anybody else. I want you to come to me. I am here to meet your needs. He got so excited, he started dancing around the house. He said, I wish I could run an ad in the newspaper and say, my wife will have sex with me anytime. So apparently, apparently this is a big deal, okay? I know we can come up with excuses, but excuses don't count. When you want to serve your kids, you do it. When you want to serve yourself, you do it. When you've got to work or do something at work, you do it. So God has given you this gift of sex. Use it to serve your mate and have a lifelong love affair. Thanks for joining us today on Drenda. God bless you. You may have noticed that our program is commercial-free. That's because friends and partners like you have donated to bring more of what matters in your life each week to you. Could I ask you to consider giving a generous gift to us as well, that you could help me reach millions of people across the world with more of what matters for their life too? I believe it'll make a lot of difference in your life as well.
When you become a partner with Drenda, you help this ministry touch lives, literally, around the world. Here's what our partners are saying.
Hi, I'm Courtney, and I've been a partner of Pastor Drenda for the past year.
I have been watching the Drenda show since it's been on for the last year, and it has definitely given me a better outlook on being a parent, on being a wife, and being free.
For more information or to become a partner today, visit Drenda.com and locate the Partner tab. When you partner, lives are changed.
Save the date for our upcoming women's conference with special guest Danny Johnson. You may know her from The Secret Millionaire, on many other programs at Good Morning America. She's helped thousands of people become millionaires.
That's right.
But she's also a spirit-filled woman of God, and she's got some answers for you in your faith, your family, and your finances.
That's right. Go to our website, Drenda.com, and register today. This is a registered event, September 12th, 13th, and 14th, 2013. You do not want to miss this year's women's conference, full of all kinds of girl time, laughter, fun, encouragement.
Workshops galore.
Yes, on all kinds of topics. So we don't want you to miss it this year. Go to our website to register right now.
This has been a paid program sponsored by the friends and partners of Faith Life Now.